We just got done placing 5 different funding specialists inside of various funding agencies, and we did the entire recruitment process, training them up on optimization, funding plans, and submitting funding applications, and ultimately handing them off to our clients so their entire back-end fulfillment for funding is fully hands-off. So in this video, I want to walk you through how to better delegate the work inside of your business so your business can grow further beyond you and scale a lot faster. So let's go over how to effectively delegate with the goal of getting more done without you, such as booking more calls, closing more deals, onboarding clients, getting funding wins, and ultimately having more money flowing in and you're not even involved in the process. So I've been recruiting, training, placing team members for years now, growing my own business and helping others grow their own teams. And so I have a lot of different insights to share with you today. And so the first thing I want to go over is the company structure, the true foundation. A lot of people operate out of Google Docs, Excel sheets, or even paper notebooks, but we can't possibly use that to scale an actual operation. If we think about the top 7-figure coaches out there, they probably have a lot of different SOPs and processes in place, right? So that's what we need to have as we scale. A lot of people think that, let me put this all together once I've scaled, but it's actually just that gets you there. So we need to have standardized formats for everything that we do and how we operate. Just how a confused buyer doesn't buy, a confused team in this case pretends to be busy. So we need to standardize everything when it comes to starting the day, ending the day, all tasks that they have, team meetings, and managing the pipeline, or in this case, your clients as well. Okay, so for example, here is how we do our start of day attack plans and end of day reports. So for start of day attack plans, I basically give all my team members a format that they can simply copy and paste as a template and then input the information relevant to the day itself. So for example, we have a closer on the team describing exactly who's on the calendar for that day, how many people he tends to outbound call. All right. For our coach, he's going to describe exactly what he's doing with the clients and how he's supporting them, what calls he has on the calendar. For my marketing manager, she's describing exactly what posts we're making that day or any other elements that she's helping me with. For our setter, she's describing what the disco calls she has for that day, how many people she plans to reach out to, and also what the goal is of booking how many calls just for herself. And then we have my builder, which helps clients in a different way as well. And then the results is going to be basically what happened, right? So I can see very clearly what the plan is for the day with the start of day attack plan, and then also how the day ended with the end of day reports. So very similar to how the day started, but in this case, how did it go, basically. So this is, again, a standardized format the team can follow with templates that they can just copy and paste and then change it based on what's actually happening. So that's an important one right here. So to give you an example of what these templates kind of look like so you can get your own idea right here. So we have those for credit commandos, appointment setters, okay? So very easy format to follow. So this is going to be for the start of day attack plan if you're working with a commando, for example, okay? End of day report, again, for the credit commando, and then important KPIs. So I'll go over team meetings a little bit later, but I basically try to give my team, every single one on the payroll here, basically 3 to 5 key numbers that's going to relate to their role. And so I want to be very clear as to what it means to be good or not so good at the job. And so in this case, for the credit commando, how many active clients do you have? How long since they've started? And how much money have they gotten? Okay, because we have KPIs for each one of these. So that's that. And then going back to the standardized process right here. So similar to how we start today, how we end the day, we also have processes in place as to how we actually do tasks. So whenever I get a new task added to my to-dos, or if we're planning on adding something to our program, or if we're implementing something new in a new process, we go about standardizing it right away so that in case we have to change a team member, for example, that new team member can get ramped up as fast as possible. If we have to get someone else involved on that project, right? We want to create standardized ways of operating. If you think to a big company, this is exactly how they do things, right? So we have to think with the big company mindset so that we can operate that way and ultimately behave that way so we can grow that way. So this is how we operate. We have everything standardized from scoring leads to working with clients to posting content. Okay, I have a ton of SOPs inside of my business. So to give you an example of what some SOPs might look like, I start with a training video, basically breaking down exactly how to do the task. So in this case here, I'm walking through the onboarding form. I'm looking through a credit report. I'm populating a client portal. Okay. So really showing my team basically how to do it. I'm walking through it. I'm trying to answer any questions they might have. And I try to make it basically dummy proof inside of the video. And then I take the transcript from this video and turn it into a detailed SOP description. So it's going to have every single element described, what to expect, any tips. Okay. So that's like one example right there. We also have preparing a funding plan. So same exact idea, right? With the video, walking through it, and then step-by-step instructions, trying to be as broken down as possible, because if I can basically answer all questions they might have inside of this SOP, that gets all of my time back. Because ideally, if there's something new that we want to implement, like for example, doing funding plans for clients, right? Ideally, I just do it once, standardize it, and then I move it off my plate forever, right? So that's how I like to think of business that way, all right? So that's how we do the standard operating procedures. Okay, a couple different examples for you. So that's that. Managing the pipeline with your clients. So I have a lot of people that worry about how do I stay on top of them? How do I know what's happening, right? Well, it's very simple, really. Basically, let's say that you have Slack connected to all of your clients. All you got to do every morning, just for 5 minutes, and just click through every single chat. You can highlight as well those that you haven't seen, or if there's any unread messages, right? I like to click inside of the chat and mark them as unread if I want to go back and actually respond to it. Okay, so you can simply just click through all of your clients very quickly, okay, so that you can kind of see what's going on. Even if you have 50 active clients, it really shouldn't only take you more than a couple minutes just to click through everyone. That's inside of Slack. You can also track inside of like any tracker that you might have. Okay, so here's an example right here of what we set up inside of Notion, so I can see exactly how much they currently owe us, how much they've currently paid, right? What type of program they're currently in. So is it a funding program? Is it an H-Corp program? Is it a credit repair program? So you can very quickly see where everyone's at. You can also comment on here as well. So again, just thinking like an actual operation here, keeping everything on track. As the business owner yourself, you set the KPIs, then you can just pop in to make sure everything's running smoothly. All right. So that's going to be for checking in with clients. We also have the system set up for tasks as well. So building a funding sequence, right? Marketing, checking scripts, checking out the submission, and walking clients through credit repair, for example, giving feedback to clients. So we attach all tasks to our team to-do board. And my team knows that if the task isn't on the to-do board, I'll probably forget about it and I'm not going to do it. So I also kind of build the right habits in place because I want everyone to use a to-do board so nothing falls through the cracks. Everyone's accountable, and we can also support each other as well. If I have more time, I'm going to pop in there and help my team. If my team has extra time, they might help each other out as well. We can also communicate on every single task right here. So it makes it very easy for everyone to know what's going on and how I can better support my team and also kind of keep track of everything as well. So very important to also have an all-in-one spot to manage to-dos and keep track of everything so that we can also see the tasks, we can see who's involved with it, we can track the status, so to do, in progress, or done. And I also like to prioritize tasks as well, okay? Because there's always going to be probably a lot of things going on inside of the business, and everyone's going to have more and more tasks on their plate as we continue to grow. And so I try to train them on understanding the difference between important tasks and not so important tasks. So we assign either a P1, top priority, P2, middle priority, or P3 if it's not so important. And so basically the goal is to focus on the highest priority tasks. If you knock out all P1s, then go to P2s, knock those out, then move on to P3s. Okay, but we shouldn't have too many P1s active because that's going to be the top focus at all times. So very important to use an all-in-one to-do board. So that really helps you stay on top of it. And then ideally for your clients, keeping them also organized with a client portal. So inside of our client portal that we use for funding, we can keep track of all of the to-do tasks that our client needs to do. And also I can monitor to see exactly how we're supporting our clients as well, right? For the applications, we can see what the funding wins have been, if we got approved, if we got denied, pending, what the plan is, okay? Because I'm really not that involved with our funding clients in a lot of ways because I have a really good team running the entire operation for me, and I'm just really here to support them, answer any questions they might not be super confident on, and just making sure that we stay on top of KPIs. So that's how we kind of operate that way. And speaking of KPIs, it's very, very important that you determine what it means to do a good job or a not so great job, because it's going to be very difficult for your team to really know that without clearly stating it for them. Okay, so we set very clear KPIs for every single person on the team so they know exactly what it means to, again, do a good job. And we can also flag good weeks or bad weeks. If someone has too many bad weeks in a row, we might have to consider stepping them out, right? But I wouldn't know if I don't have any clear KPIs if they're doing a good job or not. So a couple of different examples of clear KPIs here are going to be a credit commando, right? A commando is going to have a 60-60 day rule, which means he has 60 days to put someone through optimization and 60 days to get them funding. So if I'm looking at my team tracker and I'm looking at all the different clients and I see a client that's been in the program for, let's say, 5 months, well, that's over the 60-60 day rule, right? That means that he's past KPIs, which means that we're not doing a good job for this client. And then I can step in and see exactly what happened and why we're past KPIs. Consistent funding wins, so a little bit more of a subjective one right here, but determining based on what the expectations are for funding, I can determine whether it's good or not, because we see so many funding applications from my network. I've been growing my brand for a long time. I have all these different funders in my Credit Coach Academy program, so we see all of their funding clients. We also work with a lot of funding clients ourselves, so we see over 1,000 funding clients every single month inside of my various different channels. And so we have clear expectations as to what should be happening at Chase, what should happen at PNC. And so if we're very far from that, we need to determine what exactly happened and why it happened, okay? Because if this credit commando is constantly going over the 60-60 day rule or constantly getting subpar funding wins, we need to either have a serious discussion or step them out, okay? And then I have clear expectations for every single person on the payroll, of course, as well. So for our setter, a certain amount of outbound messages, a clear amount of booked calls a day on top of other setters or on top of my self-booked calls leads, because my funnel books calls on its own, and I have expectations for her. So that's just on her role. She should be booking 3 calls a day. The closer, I want a high close rate of 40%. Marketing managers, I have clear posting schedule that she needs to stick to with 2 YouTubes a day or 2 YouTubes a week, 3 emails a week, daily posting on school, etc. So that if we're ever missing something, that's a flag. All right, but everyone knows what it means to do a good job, and on the other side of that, what it means to not be doing so great, and something that would raise concerns on my part. So that if they're doing a good job, I'm going to be happy for them. I'll reward them. I might give them a bonus. They might get extra perks or whatever, right? But we wouldn't know that, myself or them, if we don't set these KPIs, okay? And then finally here, the team management. So very important here that we do weekly team huddles. Every single Monday, we run team meetings. And so this is the overall format that we follow. So I usually start the calls myself with any news that are happening inside of the business. So if we're changing something, for example, or if we're implementing something new, the direction. So if we're implementing or setting clear goals, or if we're reviewing past KPIs. So for example, beginning of October, we reviewed quarter 3 to see exactly what happened. We also reviewed the month of September, which was a very big month for us. And so we were able to see exactly what went well or not so well. And then also setting goals for future months or the Q4 right here. Okay, so that's like usually how I start it. And then we step into the team itself. So every single person is going to go over these following items. So we're going to have different wins. So for example, if it's going to be a credit commando, what are any big credit repair wins that we got, or any big funding approvals that we got? If it's a setter, how many booked calls did she get? If it's a closer, how many deals did he close? If it's my marketing manager, did we get any videos that popped off? Okay. And then feedback. So this is very important to open up a loop in between your front end marketing team and your back end team. So if you don't have this many team members just yet, it might just be you and your credit commandos. Okay. But this is very key right here because it helps you create better marketing and better content. So for example, if you're speaking to a lot of clients and a lot of clients are confused about inquiries, well, maybe you should make some content about inquiries, because these are people that are paying you. There's probably a lot more people just like your clients that are curious about inquiries, for example. So we open up the communication between my marketing team. So what is my closer seeing on sales calls? What is my setter hearing from prospects? What is my credit commando seeing from funding clients, or my coach with our Credit Coach Academy clients? So we're opening up the communication, we're opening up that line so that now we can get feedback from both sides, and I can create even better content. I can improve my VSL, etc. Then we go over the to-dos. So going back to that to-do board, we're holding everyone accountable. Hey, what do we have on the board right now? How many tasks are overdue? Okay, holding them accountable. And then the KPIs. So going back to the KPIs, I try to simplify it as much as possible, just down to maybe 3 to 5 key numbers. There might be a lot of things that they're helping us with, but what are the most important things to determine very quickly within like 1 or 2 minutes of them talking about it, to know whether that was a good week or not so good week for them, okay? Because it's going to be happening Monday morning. So we're going to be reviewing the previous week and seeing exactly how it went, so that we all celebrate together, or I might have to kind of raise some flags, all right? And then for goals, so that's when we set the goals for the month or perhaps for the quarter. Okay, so we're going to be talking about the marketing. What are we trying to accomplish? What are we trying to book? How many clients are we trying to sign up, right? For client results as well, for payment plans, deposits, booked calls, new clients, back-end sales, funding clients, etc. So we're going to set clear goals for the month and then review it next month so that we can hopefully celebrate or see exactly what we might have missed. So for, let's say, booked calls, if we didn't book enough calls, is that to do with the setter, for example? What can we do to improve that? If it's for funding clients, how many clients completed, right, etc. And then team training. So this is something else that I tend to do sometimes on our Monday calls, is kind of trying to set the culture in a way. So for example, I just did a recent team call in which I tried going over 3 main mindsets. So I went over the mindsets that we need to operate at the highest level to really succeed in a big way inside of this company. So I talked about a winner's attitude. What does the Chicago Bulls team with Michael Jordan and Pippen and all these people, and why were they so good, right? They had a winner's attitude, which meant that they all worked together. They were proactive, right? So that was one of them. CEO mindset, I talked about what it meant to be kind of the leader of your department. So kind of a bullet point right here. So basically saying that this is your department, you're the head of your operations. So like the setter, you're the head of setting, basically, which means that you can really shape this department and you can make decisions as to how we do things and hopefully improving the systems overall. All right. And then I talked about extreme ownership. So what it means to really assume the results of your role, which means if things went great, well, that's on you. You did an amazing job. But if things did not go so great, it's also on you, which means that you need to fix something, all right? Extreme ownership. So also key to do team trainings. I like to do these just to kind of set expectations, keep them motivated, help them get better at their job, and hopefully just become better in their careers, right? Whether we work together forever or not, I hope that their experience working with me help them become better in themselves and develop and grow, so that it became a good experience for them. So team trainings is very key. Sometimes it's mindset stuff. Sometimes it's reviewing, hey, here's how we can better prioritize our work because we're getting busier and busier, right? So kind of setting those expectations. And then finally, team recognition. So this simply just means that every single week, if someone's doing a good job, call them out. One of the reasons that people tend to quit, one of the most common ones, that they don't feel recognized. That's one of the most common ones, because they just feel like they're part of the machine. It's just another clog, right? Part of that system. And we don't want our team to feel like that, ideally, right? I want to tell someone if they've done a great job and that they did a great job, and not only that, that the whole team should know about it. Then hopefully they feel proud about that, and then they go back and they're ready to work even harder so that we can really build something special, which is the goal of my business. I want us to become the number one in our particular niche, and I need my entire team to do that. I can't do it alone. So that's why I try to do all these different things that I'm talking about inside of this training, so we can hopefully all move together in the right direction with the best results possible. So those are some tips for recruiting, leading your team, and making sure everyone's efficient, so that hopefully you get a lot more done and you can scale to the next level. So if you do want additional help from my team and myself, you can click on the link down below to learn more about our Credit Coach Academy program. We'll make sure that you recruit the very best people, train them up to KPI, and get a lot more done inside of your business all without you. So if you are curious about that, click on the link down below. But hopefully this video is very helpful for you and you got some great insights. If you do start to get some wins and you start to step out of different elements of your business, please comment down below. I'd love to learn about it. But otherwise, thanks so much for spending some time with me here today, and I'll see you in the next video.